Hello friends, welcome in my classroom, and in this class we will learn endocytosis and exocytosis. Endocytosis means inside the cell and exocytosis means outside the cell. So what are the functioning that are happen in the inside cell and what are the function that are outside the cell? The intake inside and outtake from the cell that are learned in the endocytosis and exocytosis. So firstly, the intaking, the ingestion of the cell. So the ingestion of the cell through the plasma membrane, it is called the endocytosis. And in that, the ingestion, the different types of substances they take in the cell. So on the basis of the substances, it is categorized in the different types. So whenever the cell, it takes the solid food particle, then it literally called the cell eating, and the cell eating termed as the phagocytosis. So the cell eating termed as the phagocytosis. So in the phagocytosis, the cell, it takes the food particle through the plasma membrane. So let's see the example of taking in the food particle in the cell. So we will take the example of amoeba. In amoeba, when the food particle is come in the contact of the membrane, the cell membrane of the amoeba, the food particle it is come in the contact of the amoeba membrane, then amoeba forms their false feet around the food particle. It forms the false feet around the food particle. These are the false feet of the amoeba, and the false feet of amoeba, they are called the pseudopodia. So the pseudopodia forms around the food particle, and the food particle that take inside the amoeba cell. And when it take in the amoeba cell, then the vacuole is created around the food particle. That vacuole, it is also called the phagosome. And that helps to keep the food until it got digested. So the lysosomes present in the cell, they release their enzymes. They release the enzymes in the vacuole to digest or to break down the food particles. So the lysosomes help to break down the food material that is inside the food vacuole. So this is the process of the phagocytosis, in which the food particle come in the contact of the cell membrane, then the food particle, it engulfed by the cell by forming the pseudopodia, and that cell forms the vacuole, that is also called the phagosome, and kept the food inside it, and the lysosome, they help to break down the food into the simpler substances by releasing the enzymes inside the food vacuole. So this is the process in which food is engulfing inside the cell. This is the phagocytosis. Different types of substances like liquid substance. When the cell intake the liquid substance, then the term said to be Pinocytosis. Pinocytosis, it is also called as the potocytosis. So the mean of the pinocytosis and potocytosis, it is literally that the cell breaking. Means whenever the substance is liquid form, then cell takes the liquid substance, and that process is called the pinocytosis. And how it takes place, let's see. So in pinocytosis, the cell membrane, it forms the small cavuli, and in that cavuli it having some receptors. These are having the receptors, and these receptors, they allow the small ions or the small molecule to put in the cell. So the receptors, they take the small molecules or the small ion inside the cell, and inside the cell they form this cavule, and then they release the molecule in the cell. So they release the molecule in the cell, or they translocate. There is a translocation process. The translocation is a process in which the substance, the food substance in the liquid or in the solid form, it transported in the cell from one part to the another part. So there is a releasing of the molecule from the cavuli to the cell, or there is a translocation process from the another side of the cell. So we can say there is a translocation to the opposite side of cell. So this is the another way in which the cell that takes the liquid substance inside it, and this is called the potocytosis or the pinocytosis. Now the receptor mediated endocytosis. In receptor mediated endocytosis, the larger food molecules, they are received by the plasma membrane through some receptors, and when they are received inside the cell, they are broken down into simpler substances, and the receptors, they form at the time to intake the food, they also recycled, and the other side of the plasma membrane, they get out from the cell by rupturing the plasma membrane. So these are the processes of the endocytosis. So I think you have understand well what is the phagocytosis, pinocytosis, it is also called the potocytosis, and the receptor mediated endocytosis. Now we will learn about the exocytosis. So my dear friends, now learn about the exocytosis. As the exo means outside and cytosis means self-functioning. So the cell that function out from the cell, that is the exocytosis. And how the cell function out from the cell? So whatever the intake through the phagocytosis, the potocytosis or the receptor mediated endocytosis, that after intaking and the breaking down, the waste, it removed from the cell. So whenever the waste, it removes from the cell, the digested material, it is the digested material. So whenever it come in contact of the wall of the cell, that is the plasma membrane, so when it come in the contact, then the side of the contact, it get ruptured, it get rupture and it forms fuse inside. It fuse inside, so the cytoplasm inside the cell, it gets safe. It get not removed from the the cytoplasm not removed from the cell, only the waste material it take out from the cell. So the waste it take out from the cell, it is the exocytosis, and literally it is called the cell vomiting. So the unwanted and undigested the food material it take out from the cell, that is called the exocytosis.